What's going on, guys? So I will be the first to admit that I am always looking for a better way of doing things. And oftentimes I do the same thing that a lot of you all do. I go on YouTube and I start looking for topics that I'm interested in because perhaps I want to tackle a project and I want to figure out if there's an easier, better, or possibly even more correct way of doing it. That said, my friend over at DS Trucks has a great YouTube channel. Go check it out. I'll put a link in the description of this video. He made a video that was released right before my video was released. We didn't collaborate. We didn't talk about it at all, but it definitely was a very, very good example of what I could have done differently in terms of routing my Upfitter wires. So we're going to reroute the wires today in a much more convenient way and one that's going to make a lot more practical sense. Hang tight. I'll be right back. Okay, so on his truck, which is also a 2023-2024 F450, when it came to routing his Upfitter wires, he didn't go the route I did, literally. So on mine, my Upfitter wires from the truck itself are right back here. Once you pull out this assembly right here, you'll see a big bundle of wires underneath that are your 6 plus some Upfitter wires. And I say plus some because there's more than 6 wires in there. You have some factory pass-through wires which are taped to the back right here, which do go into the cab of your truck. But as pointed out in this video and other videos, those wires are too thin of a gauge to really support any current. Now, some people are going to say, why don't you just run relays, right? Because that's kind of the point of a relay. Turn a small amount of power into a large amount of power by basically connecting it directly to your battery and using the thin wire simply a switch to turn the relay on or off. Now, the problem with that is the fact that Ford already gives you 6 relayed connections with wires in your hood. You already have access to them. Why do I want to run additional relays on top of the relays that are here that are more than enough for all the applications I'll be using them for? For instance, if and when we finally upgrade the front bumper, we're going to use one of those for any lights or accessories that are on there, fog lights, things like that. If we need to put any type of an emergency light on the truck, we will use those for that. If I decide to run a different onboard air compressor and I want to wire it into 12 volts, there's a wire for that. I believe 2 of them are 40 amp, which is a huge amount of power. That's typically what your standard aftermarket automotive relay is going to provide as well. So to have 2 relayed 40 amp connections and then 4 20 amp connections, I believe that's what they actually are, you have a great way of running accessory equipment without needing to add additional relays like you used to have to do in the past. I mean, I got to be pretty dang proficient at wiring up SBDT relays, single pole double throw relays. You'd tape them together, you'd get a harness for them eventually whenever harnesses became more popular. But in the past, you would essentially use 3M33 plus tape them all together, tape up your harnesses, and you would have them hanging or screwed into some part underneath the hood or inside of the cab of the vehicle. Those days are kind of gone with Upfitter switches because Upfitter switches just provide you that power you need already. All you need to do is find the wire, run your ground, and you are good to go. But again, the way I ran the wire was not ideal. And the reason why I ran the wire the way I did was because access to getting a wire through your firewall right here is very, 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 very difficult. They just do not make it simple. What really would have been nice is if they had a box up here, a junction box, with connections that you simply plug into or screw into, and those led to wires on the inside of your truck in a similar box. So you're not tapping and splicing into wires. The problem with this is if I ever need to change anything, you're cutting those wires down, and at some point you're not going to have a heck of a lot of slack to be able to work with. But if they simply put a box here with maybe spring clips or screw-on terminals that you could simply put in, you know, some type of a connector, screw it in, that would be great. And then have a similar connection on the inside of the vehicle for pass-through. That would be ideal. But the way they did it is they give you the spare wire ends that pop up right here. I used a piece of marine grade wire. It's actually a 2-circuit wire, and I used marine grade wire. It's 12 gauge wire, power and ground, and it's running all the way down the side, all the way under here, right here, into the cab of the vehicle on the driver's side, because there is actually a pretty good amount of space to work under the cab on this side to get into your firewall, which is really nice. That's actually kind of rare. So it's nice that they did that. But I had to run probably, what, 3, 7, I had to run probably 10 to 15 feet of wire I had to run probably 20 feet of wire to get all the way around through here, all the way in the cab underneath to the plug, which is right here, which is really on the opposite side over here. So, which is really on the, through here, which is really just on the opposite side of my upfitters. And if I could have simply ran the wires down or through here, and if I could have simply just ran the wires through the firewall on this side, I would have had far, far, far less cabling I would have had to run, and it would have been more convenient, and it wouldn't have had to require me removing a lot of this stuff to get to it. So we're going to change things up because DS Trucks pointed out a really convenient way of doing this, and then some people in the comment section also pointed that out as well. And that is accessing a grommet under the passenger seat. So apparently under this carpet, under this seat, there is a grommet, or I guess a hole that goes out of the truck, and it's covered up with like an electrical tape type seal. And apparently that's exactly what that is for. So you can run your wires down here underneath, tuck them in, and then simply punch a hole through there, run your wire in under your carpet, and you have a really clean install, and you don't have to worry about snaking everything all the way around to get over here. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to reroute this wire because I think this is a really important topic for those of you who are into upfitting your vehicles and you're looking for the best way to run wire. You can run them in a convenient area that's out of the way and will give you access to the wires you need in a really nice spot. Underneath the front seat is not a bad spot, especially if you can route it under the carpet and get it behind your dash or your glove box over here. So what I ran was that right there, and that is two 12-volt cigarette lighter style adapters, the push-in style adapters. There's two on the truck, but I always like having more. I specifically ran that to run my rear view mirror dash camera, which requires switched power. I don't want the thing to be on all the time. If you plug it into the one up here, it's going to be on for like 75 minutes after you shut the truck off. It's ridiculous. I don't want to deal with that. And then there's also two USB connections in there as well, which is also really nice. If I want to connect another phone, I don't have to worry about connecting it to my point sender here or through this little box right here. I can run them kind of out of the way off to the side of the truck, which I also like. But that said, the first thing we really need to do is undo everything that we did. That's kind of a frustrating part of all this, but I'm going to undo the wiring I did. I'm going to reroute it back out of the truck, and then I'm going to get my wires ran under here. But you know what? I'll actually probably run the wires under here first, so they're there, they're ready to go, and then all I have to do is remove the wire that I ran under the hood. So one of the first things that I do if I'm going to be rolling around underneath the truck is to turn off the deployable running boards. You simply go into the infotainment system, go to running boards, and turn them off. It's a super simple process, and when I'm under the truck, I have a significantly greater amount of headspace to be able to get in there to work on it. Okay, so I am underneath here now. I'm looking for that grommet, or that access point. I believe it's actually going to be up here somewhere. There it is right there. Right there. See that? That is a hole underneath the seat, and it has a piece of tape on it. So I can simply take that off, and that should give me access to everything I need. Okay, so this may be helpful for some of you all trying to find where that grommet hole is without having to actually unbolt your seat. It's possible to do. You simply want to remove your little sill plate right here. This just pops off. It's very, very simple. It's just all pop clips. You want to pull it straight up though and off. And then you can reach under your carpet. It'll actually pull back a little bit right here, and it's pretty easy to get back in place. You're going to reach your arm under here, and then you're going to feel around, right around to where this grommet is right there. And then you'll feel a piece of plastic tube, which is very likely your heater ducting or your AC ducting going to the back of the truck. It's right under here. And between that and here, right in this spot, if you want to see right in conjunction to where it is to the seat mount or the track, it's right here, right before you get to the hump for that piece underneath here. It's right there, and you can feel it. It's right up against that plastic piece. And you can simply press it with your finger and know that it's hollow underneath. So that is access to that specific area, which is perfect because once I get the wire down, I can run it next to the ducting. There's space there. I can bring it out this way, run it back here behind the glove box, and we'll be golden. Boy, that would have saved me a lot of time, a heck of a lot of time. Big shout out to DS Trucks for helping me find this the way that a lot of people find stuff with YouTube. Go check out his channel and subscribe to it. Now, I could have done the responsible thing and simply unconnected my new 12-volt jack I had there, routed all the wire back out here, but I don't have the time to do that, and this is going to work fine because I always have a use for this wire. So I simply cut it here. I'll remove it from the inside of the truck when I'm done, but I found the spot, of course, under the hood where it was, and the nice thing is pulling it back out is a lot easier than putting it in. So this is going to be a pretty simple process of removing this wire, hopefully. Just got to find out what I'm getting caught up on. Now that I have all the wire out, just took a little bit of pulling and tugging, I'm going to route it down here, underneath the truck, around here, then up through the hole in the seat, or the hole under the seat. Okay, so I put the wire down and through. It's right there. Simply took the wire and kind of found an opening right here, shoved it through. I'm going to pull the wire out. I'm going to route it so it's not going to interfere with anything. It's not going to be in the way of anything, and it's not going to be too close to anything that produces a lot of heat. So we'll get the wire ran underneath here. We'll route it underneath, pop it up through the seat, and see what it looks like. Okay, we're back into the truck. There's the hole right there. I don't know if you can see it right there. I am going to try to put a grommet on there. So I have these little grommets like this that are designed for it. See if I can get more light on it. And we're going to try to take that out and replace it with a grommet for the wire so we don't get any critters crawling into the cab on the wire whenever they come through. I could just put a small slit in that hole, which I might do, but a grommet would definitely make it a little bit more protected, especially if the wire pulls on that and starts chafing against the metal of the aluminum of the truck itself. So we're going to try to do that. I want to see if I can fit one on. If I can, I will show you the results. Okay, so I did grab the right size grommet. I got it on the end of the wire. There's very little gap or space for anything to get in, but I might put a little bit of a silicone sealant around that whenever I'm done. I'm going to try to position this through the hole so I can get the grommet to go ahead and fit in that space. You can see it has a little slit in the side of it, which is designed to rest around the outer rim of the aluminum that it's going through. So let's see if we can get this in place. Okay, so we got it in. Let's see if you can see that from here. Yep. So we were able to get the grommet in, wires through it. There's enough compression in there to seal it up real well, so I'm not worried about any insects coming through. You can see that the slack runs right here along a normal wiring harness route. So I'm going to zip tie it to this wiring harness right here. It'll be up and out of the way, and I think we'll be in good shape. So once we get this piece done, we'll clean it up a little bit as far as, you know, what all this looks like, and make sure it's all zipped up out of the way so there's nothing that's moving around. Then we'll move inside of the truck. This is 1,000 times easier and more convenient than what I did initially. There we go. You probably can't even see the wire except for a small piece right there. But it's all tucked up out of the way. You can see it back here. I have it zip tied in place, and everything looks really, really clean. So let's go ahead and get out from under the truck, because we are done under here. Now we can work inside of the truck. So check this out. This is the wire that came up from under the seat. Plenty of room to move it around and get it where I need to go now. I've eliminated, not kidding you, probably 6 feet or more of wire. Probably more than that, because the wire that came through the interior had to go down here, all the way underneath here, route around all of this, and pop out right here. So I've eliminated a significant amount of wire, which I absolutely love. And now I have 12 gauge wire coming in that's tied to my #1 upfitter switch, which is also 20 amps. So it's well beyond what your traditional plug might be. I'll have plenty of power to use this even for other things if I want to tie it to that same upfitter switch. I also bought 4-conductor wire in case I want to run that through so I can run even more things under here. But the reality is, I really don't need too much stuff ran into the cab of the truck. Most of it will be for exterior, external equipment or accessories that might be added to the truck. So this is going to be perfectly fine for what I think we'll ever need run into the truck, tied off of upfitter switch 1. We have 5 additional upfitter switches, which leaves us 2 40 amp circuits and 3 20 amp circuits, which give us more than enough power for anything we might add to the truck from an accessory perspective, aside from a winch, which of course needs to be ran directly to the battery using a solenoid. That said, let's figure out where we want to route this wire. I'll probably put it behind this kick panel right here, up behind the glove box, because if you saw the original video, there's a lot of room back there, and the glove box is super easy to take off, which I really like. Okay, so what we've done here is we've ran the wire underneath here. It is, it'll be visible from here, but it's actually ran right under here, up here, super easy. Just routing the wire is honestly super easy. I took this little panel off again. The wire runs up here, pops up in here, and this is where I ran the original wire. So you can see it's all behind the dash. Not ideal, don't really want it there. I'll be able to remove all of that wire now and have a significantly shorter run of wire from the Upfitter switch, routed through a much more convenient and safer route. One of the viewers who saw the video said, you know, what happens if Ford ever has to take some of the front stuff off if they need to work on the truck? Are they really going to put it back the way that you had it? And the answer is probably not, because they're not going to recognize it. They're going to probably just put it wherever they can. You know, oftentimes they do, though. They put it back where it should go. They kind of keep an eye on that, so I don't think that most Ford dealerships would make a mess of it, but you never know. That said, I just need to now disconnect this. I'm going to use a different type of connector here in case I ever need to switch it out or remove it. These things are super cool, and they beat splices all the time if you don't need to put it in a weatherproof environment. So yeah, we'll cut that off, splice it back in, and we'll be good to go. That is a really cool upgrade, something I really like and I'm really pleased with. So leave a comment below, let me know what you guys think. We're going to wrap it up. Off camera, I'm going to remove that piece of wire. I'll just pull it back out the way it came in, and we should be good to go. Guys, if you haven't had a chance, please take a moment, subscribe to the channel. A big shout out to DS Trucks for helping guide me through this, even if it was unintentional. He did it by putting a great video up. Go check out his channel. I'll put a link in the description. Guys, if you haven't had a chance, please take a moment, subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up. We'll talk to you again very soon.